on one hand, we want more information, more relevant data so that we can be better served. But at the same time, people say or they claim that they want more privacy. How do you play that balance?
Privacy is super important. It's core to everything that we do at Acxiom. We focus on integrating compliance early and often in the process, so that it's a foundation for the innovation, rather than a barrier. Organizations are ever changing. Us as technology leaders, we have to think beyond the technology and compliance as, a CIO or Chief Information Security Officer. I think in understanding this strategy, we can balance these aspects, through alignment in developing that strategic portfolio.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of IT Visionaries. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Janet Cinfio, and she is the Chief Information Officer of a company called Acxiom. Now, you might not know what Acxiom does, but I bet you interact with it every single day. You just don't know it. Janet, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What is Acxiom? What does it do? And why did I suggest to our audience that they probably interact with Acxiom in some way? They just don't know it.
It's true. Acxiom works with all the top brands that most of us know, across every industry. Acxiom's led the industry in marketing intelligence and enablement, helping all of those brands understand and connect with their customers. So in some way, right, when you are interacting with a brand, the information about you and how they better engage with you is supported by what we do at Acxiom. So how do we do that at Acxiom? So what we do is we take data and marketing technology, and we help pull together solutions that are scalable and help those brands accelerate their performance and ability to engage with consumers like all of us. And so we're really known for doing that through cloud-enabled data management, identity resolution, which is understanding who a person is and what do they like and how would they like to be served by the companies that they work with, as well as our marketing and technology expertise, right? So it's very important because the ecosystem and how each of us interact with a brand is across so many different areas. We have so many touch points, right? So whether that is online, whether that is, in person at a retail store or on an airline, or, the things that you do every day, going to the bank, or maybe you're not going to the bank, but you're engaging with the bank, or, those type of things. But all that ecosystem, it's important as you engage with those brands, you want them to be able to serve you quickly and in the best way, right? You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to hear about things that you don't care about. So we have, do that through some of our offerings, which help those brands recognize and reach the people, right, with personalized experiences across those touch points. And I think another aspect to Acxiom that is, sets us apart is really our commitment to ethical data stewardship. So ensuring that we champion privacy in all of our solutions. And this helps us gain trust with our customers, right? Because they want to ensure that they have the trust of the people that they're engaging with from a brand perspective. So that really is the balance of helping them, our clients, maximize the value, but also ensure that they can have that trust with their consumers and ensure that that they continue to have loyal customers.
For our audience, Acxiom is it's beyond just digital data, right? It is also data collect. I mean, it's delivered obviously digitally, but there's consumer behavior data, there's location data, geographic data.
Yes.
It's not just what you're doing on a website, for example.
Yes. It brings together lots of different information about individual people as far as what those preferences are, so that the experience can be personalized.
All right. So in my former past, I was part of a social media management and intelligence company, and Acxiom was one of the companies that we were looking to partner with. So I knew of Acxiom from that moment in time, but the reason why I bring it up is because in the early 2000s, or excuse me, early 2000s, middle 2010, it's weird to say, right? It's like right around 2010 to 2014 timeframe. There was like this whole, there was like I wanted like a North Star where a lot of brands and retailers wanted to get to the point where they could understand a consumer without actually like asking them too much information about themselves. Like they could understand what they wanted, interests and things like that. And it was promised at that time, like we were getting close. And now during my time doing this, being in the business, it felt like it was close, but also kind of far away because every single time we got closer, it was a little bit more challenging. With the amount of data sources that are happening now, how close would you say like a brand or a retailer is actually able, how close are they to recognizing without giving away personal identification, like all of these promises, like that 360-degree view of a customer that, so many marketers want to get to?
Yeah, I think that we're much closer than we were at that time. And I think in doing it in a very, ethical way and not really, specifically identifying individuals, but the types of preferences that that people might be interested in, right? Like what, if we use a retailer as an example, like, what type of products would you be interested in buying, or where would you like to buy that, or those type of things. So I think we're much closer by being able to leverage some of that data along with the information that say our brands have, that consumers have, opted in, to sharing, right? Because they want to share that so that brand can serve them in a better way.
How does, for our audience, give us an idea of how it works, because they might have some understanding of advertising platforms. But Acxiom is a unique thing because I feel like it's data that is not. So for example, I would describe it as this. It's got I'm assuming a website or whatever service provider has to digitally query Acxiom in fractions of a second. You're going to give me a data point that I need so that I can then do whatever the next move is. Give us an idea of how the infrastructure is set up so that these, like, there's no latency, there's no lag, because we all know consumers are actually very, very impatient, right? If this process didn't happen in sub-second, I don't think a consumer, the retailer wouldn't want it, and the customer wouldn't want it. Give us an idea of how it's set up so that it can be so fast.
Yeah, so we set up specific models that are industry specific and can also be brand specific that are kind of pre-prepared, right, from a machine learning perspective. And then that is, based on the use case or the types of use case that this brand is wanting to do. Maybe they're wanting to show me an offer that I would prefer versus you, right? You might prefer to see a different offer. And so a lot of that preparation of the data is then matched with, if I'm the one engaging or you're the one engaging in a different way, so that, we're going to see something that is more likely relevant to us than someone else. So a lot of it resolves in kind of that pre-preparation of the industry models and the expertise that we have in doing that, and then combining that with our ability to do that quickly and have a small piece of information to share real time with that brand's, say, site when they're going to make that decision of like which offer to show.
In this setup, in this model, is data like, give us an idea of how the data is flowing. Just, I'm curious, because I remember working with my old company. Like, some of our team members were from the old CRM days where they would install applications and databases on-prem at the different stores. Then of course, emergence of cloud, you could send it back and forth. And then there became, I wouldn't like, what I'm getting at is like, how is it set up? Do you keep all your data in cloud and it has to go, all the retailers and brands have to go fetch data and bring it back? Or do they ask for like a hybrid or edge computing solution where they're asking you to bring your compute closer so that it can go even faster?
Yeah. So I think, the cloud landscape continues to evolve, right? And so has our approach. And we look at the different use cases that guide, the design and architecture based on what our clients need. So we have a multi-cloud strategy. The solutions can work seamlessly across multiple providers. So the typical like AWS, GCP. From a marketing perspective, we work with like Adobe and Salesforce clouds, as well as some of the data cloud players like Snowflake and Databricks. So we're working across all of these because that's where all the clients are as well, right? So when you're talking to get closer to the edge, we want to be closer to where our clients are. And so we're able to do things like better scale and, meet the demand, right? While also ensuring that we're not compromising any of that performance that you mentioned, as well as security. No, so I think that gives us the ability where like there's, as an example, with Snowflake and Databricks, there's an opportunity to data share. Whereas in the past, we might have had to say, we develop these models, create a set of outputs, right? And then we have to like pass that information over to a brand's data, right? And then they have to like do something with it and send it back to us, right? So you've got back and forth. Right now, we're able to do things where we can leverage more of the sharing technology so that things can happen faster and we can have that data closer to the client or our brands that we work with.
Imagine seamless customer experiences, fast internet, and the bandwidth required to embrace new technologies. Are you ready to experience the network that makes it all possible? There's no network quite like Zayo's. With North America's largest independently owned fiber network, Zayo provides the backbone, connecting your organization to what's next. Thousands of data centers to cloud on-ramps, towers, and points of presence. Zayo's network carries massive amounts of data globally every single day. What really sets Zayo apart is their coast-to-coast routes spanning from Canada into Mexico that you simply won't find anywhere else. The most innovative companies choose Zayo because they are not just connecting places, but connecting what's next for you. Discover the power of Zayo's network today. www.zayo.com/network. And when you say close, like you're talking about occupying the same clouds, claim servers, or is it like, because we've actually had some guests on our show in retail talking about like they create like data rooms almost where it's like, hey, everyone's equipment is going to be in this room, but it's not going to share and commingle with like other I don't know how to explain it, like other brands, like they call it data rooms and data sharing.
Yes. And so we do that as well because each brand wants to protect, right?
That's
their information. And that's why they also trust us, because even in kind of the old methods of infrastructure, Acxiom was well known for our privacy and security, not only for people out there that our brands are customers, but also for our clients directly, and being able to segregate and ensure the protection of, we manage multiple companies' data, but we have the methods of keeping that safe and segmented where, it's that information is not shared with anybody else.
Give us an idea of how the industry, your company, is evolving because it's doing two things in almost like conflict of each other, right? On one hand, we want more information, more relevant data so that we can be better served. Consumers have openly complained when it's gotten to the point now where people actually complain about having irrelevant ads. Like people are okay with having ads in their feed, I feel like, but they don't like having irrelevant ads. Cause you'll have to see every now and then people complain like, what is this? You know what I mean? But at the same time, so we want more curated information for ourselves. But at the same time, people say, or they claim that they want more privacy and so on. So with more data points, it's easier to identify somebody, yet the need to protect increases as well. How do you play that balance? Because of course, you want to serve the most relevant information all the time, but sometimes it can become, I remember that legendary news case where a girl was looking at like pregnancy tests and or baby diapers, and like the father got the email like, hey, are you having a baby? Like, this is all this stuff. And he was like, what's going on? Of course, no one wants that to happen to them. Give us an idea of how the industry is changing and evolving and improving to do two things, right, in conflict with each other, which is to better serve information to me, but also protect me from feeling like being identified or for whatever reason.
Yeah, and privacy is super important. It's core to everything that we do at Acxiom, and we've led the industry in privacy practices. We were the first company. I don't know if you know this, that we were the first company to have a chief privacy officer and created that function to set the standard for ethical and transparent governance, right? And also, we have been a large proponent of national or and as well as GDPR and our national privacy laws, right? So we can get consistent protection in the legal realm, but we work in our own way. Like we don't necessarily need the laws to tell us what we do. We want to do the right thing, right? So we embed like privacy by design principles into everything that we do at the outset. The privacy processes and teams are involved from the initial idea to the final solution. We leverage it as a consultative, but also a mandated function, right, to ensure that we've got the right compliance and the right protection in our processes. And this really helps us be able to do it up front and build it into our process so we can maximize that, the outcomes that a brand is looking for while protecting the consumer and ensuring there's risks to, like the example that you gave, that the risk of that happening to be much, much lower.
When you think of when you're leading the team, innovating with the team, and trying to come up with new product lines, solutions, whatever the case, new services that Acxiom could potentially offer, it feels like this is, it's highly coveted, but like you just mentioned, like you have a chief privacy officer for a reason. It's also, you have to move almost cautiously. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but or responsibly, as you said before. How do you balance the two when it comes to like the innovative side? Because I'm guessing there have been engineers on your team who have come up with ideas that you're like, that would be incredible. However, rule one, we got to do it responsibly. And so like you might ask them like, hey, why don't you change that a little bit? Give us an idea of how you push that envelope while also maintaining that responsibility.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it, it starts at kind of the top of the organization. Organizations are ever changing. And so us as technology leaders, like we have to think beyond the technology and compliance and to be really effective partners as, a CIO or chief information security officer. Like we need to be able to contribute and understand the overall business, the business strategy and what our goals are. So, and our technology and compliance is key to that. And, I think in understanding the strategy, contributing that, we can balance these aspects, through alignment in developing that strategic portfolio. So as I said earlier, we focus on integrating compliance early and often in the process so that it's a foundation for the innovation, rather than a barrier, right? Where we create, automations in security or privacy, right? That enable the developers to innovate rather than being like, oh, I have this great idea, I'm taking it down the process, I've developed it, and then, security or privacy team comes in and says, nope, you can't do that, right? Like we want to have it more of an iterative, agile process that we work through together. For example, we had examples where we're implementing like new, AI or machine learning capabilities. And so we look across those teams and ensure that those solutions do meet the most stringent requirements like GDPR or CCPA, which are the privacy acts in Europe, as well as the California Act for those not familiar. And when we do things like cloud migrations, right, we ensure that we've got like strong encryption and we've got continuous monitoring. And so we do a lot of training with our engineers so that they understand the importance of these things. And we also, have our teams work alongside each other versus in the silos.
One of the things when I was listening to like some of the innovation and the responsible aspects for your customers, I was thinking about how you serve an industry that is kind of, I would say, more susceptible to infrastructure limitations than others. So like I was thinking about like oil and gas, they have oftentimes the most amount of infrastructure blocks, if you will, because a lot of their locations are super remote, but retailers have locations everywhere as well. All the stores are going to have different setups. Do you feel, do you ever run into where, hey, your technology is maybe like, let's give it an A plus in speed and capability, but the customer's infrastructure is not able to take advantage of your A plus capability? Do you ever have to like encourage them, or they have to make investments too in order to take full advantage? Or does Acxiom, are you guys always looking for new ways to deliver the information faster so that they can take advantage of all the tools that you have?
Yeah, I think, there's a wide range of the customers that we deal with. And we have those that are like on the cutting edge and, leading and wanting to, be right alongside with us in innovation. And we have other ones who are maybe more risk averse, right? They maybe it could be related to their industry or what, compliance, the requirements that they have, different culture. So we have a great experience of working across the spectrum here. And we help our clients who are maybe more risk averse to understand and, go through the process with them of explaining, like, here's the innovation. These are the ways that we have mitigated the risks that that you're worried about, and, help them understand that and help deliver them into some of the new solutions.
Yeah, we had a guest on from one of the restaurant POS systems talking about how they had to help certain restaurants like upgrade their their infrastructure because they would have like these cool loyalty programs, but the experience from store to store was not as good because on some stores it would instantly recognize you, and then others would be like, we don't know who you are. So yeah. I didn't know if that was a limitation or not a limitation, but something to overcome for your team as well.
Yeah. And I think in some different ways too, right? We definitely also have some customers who are more comfortable still with not moving some of their solutions into a cloud solution, right? And they've got their infrastructure more controlled, right, on their own. Is that how they view it, right? And then helping them to understand, like, well, the marketing ecosystem has changed, right? Before, maybe you could manage everything within your own organization, but now, as any CIO has to deal with, right? You're not just architecting for an organization, you're architecting for that ecosystem, or across multiple entities, right? Whether those are other business partners or technology solutions that you need to be able to have work together. And by isolating yourself in maybe that kind of old way of, just looking at your own organization, right? You're not going to enable the use cases that you're going to need to take your business forward and grow.
How do you yourself, or at Acxiom, how do you kind of like, maybe by percentage, divide the team in regards to responsibilities? Because I'll give you an example. When we were in that social media management company, like we had team members that like their sole job was to keep up with the APIs of the different providers. Cause you mentioned you have many data providers. We did as well. And there was like API changes, like, okay, how's that impact my operation? We had people that had to do, service requests. We had people that had to be that were actually doing the R&D and developing new products and services. So everyone wanted to kind of do the new stuff. A lot in our team, there were less people that wanted to do the maintenance, and definitely less people that wanted to do the bugs. Like bug team was like, no one wanted to be knocking out bugs, but we rotated the team members. How do you kind of How do you do it? Because the way you described it, right, was some companies are on-prem, some companies are cloud. You have multiple clouds. You have the amount of data sources Acxiom are connected to Acxiom. I know, I can't imagine what the number is, but it's a lot. So they all have APIs or they all have requirements. And then these companies and providers they're making changes. So it's you're like the orchestrator of a lot of of a lot of instruments. How do you divide your team? How do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I think we do take a look at, first and foremost, right, we have our customers and the performance of the service that we're providing, right? So that's ongoing operations. You talked about whether that's maintenance or maybe bug fixing, those type of things, right? That's first and foremost most critical. And so we do separate out a team to have that focus, right? To be ensuring that our services are high availability, high performance, 24 hours a day. A very diligent focus on that to ensure that that we don't have any issues, right? Because that's where our reputation lies, right? The first time you have an issue there, like that changes the situation with your relationship with your customer. So it's very important for us to focus on that. So we don't necessarily it's still exciting, right? It's exciting for people in a different way, right? So the teams that work on that are very much focused on, monitoring, improving performance, doing those ensuring that, we have an ongoing change process where we're upgrading without causing impact. And so we have that team focus on those type of things. We also then have teams to focus on more of a high level architectures, supporting what a combination of our products and solutions. How do we need to architect those to, work better together? And we also then have a team to focus on improving our cloud platform, because because we're working with all these clouds, right? It's important for us to. We've developed cloud common services that can be used by all the different product and engineering teams across the organization. So that includes strong some governance capabilities, but it also includes enablement capabilities like API management, like you were just talking about APIs, right? Like API management capabilities. So we have that as a common service to all the engineering teams so that it can enable them to develop the features that are going to, that our customers are going to see more for their business growth, while we're setting that foundation of those common services that are necessary, right, to make everything work and everything get updated properly, and to be able to work with multiple clouds and have the engineering team not have to spend as much of their bandwidth on that, but that they can spend it on our new products, what's on the product roadmap.
Imagine a world where your data flows like electricity, unseen, yet powering everything you do. A world where high availability, low latency, and disaster recovery are not just expectations, but realities. Welcome to the future, powered by Zayo's network. Zayo has meticulously designed North America's largest independent fiber network, a network that isn't just vast, but strategically planned, connecting the places that matter most to you. Thousands of data centers, cloud on-ramps, towers, and critical points of presence. Cross-continental routes unique to Zayo offer connections that you just can't find anywhere else. Zayo provides routing diversity that ensures your operations never skip a beat, and ultra-low latency for when microseconds matter. In a world that never stops, Zayo is the network underneath it all, helping the most innovative and forward-thinking companies grow. Because Zayo doesn't just connect places, they connect possibilities. Discover the power of Zayo's network today. Visit www.zayo.com/network. And for our audience that might be listening, just trying to envision this team, because you're servicing the many clouds, each of the platforms. Like if I went on the careers page right now, I saw like you need someone for Marketo, you need someone for Adobe, like you got all the different the platforms, that the brands and retailers are using. How many people are on your team right now?
Oh, for my team in total, we're about 350 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a big operation.
Yeah. So that's globally and essentially, yeah, supporting um, all the underlying platform that powers our products, and all of our solutions for our clients. So helping to implement those as well as run them and ensure that they perform on a daily basis.
One of the things that I was thinking about in that you mentioned that it was exciting for some, and how it's a certain type of culture that probably would find working at Acxiom very, very rewarding. Give us, we want so many people to want to be in these fields, that if you're here listening in college, that you just say to yourself, "Oh, I gotta do this and get to Acxiom, because that sounds like a great place to work." Give us your recruiting pitch. What type of engineer, what type of developer, what type of person would thrive at Acxiom, and the type of person you're looking for?
Yeah. Well, I think like we definitely, a lot of people would thrive at Acxiom. I think one of the benefits is that it is a very diverse culture, right? And that we set as one of our values, right? Um, that is important to us, right? Diversity of thought, different opinions, right? Because having those different perspectives drives more innovation, right? So I think anyone who's like very passionate about innovating, I think we deal with, like you were saying, like just a large amount of data, right? A large amount of technology interactions, and you see the complexity of every industry. Like we work with every single industry: financial services, insurance, retail, travel and hospitality, uh, media and sports, and like every area you can think of, right? So I think it's also very exciting, say somebody coming in, right, to be able to have exposure and see, oh, maybe I like this industry, or maybe you can get that experience and maybe find an affinity towards an industry faster or a certain type of work. So, and like we were talking about, we're on the cutting edge of looking at, we've been working with machine learning for a long time, and AI, and now, more and more so with the new generation of AI as well. So there's a lot of, if you love technology, there's so many technology, problems to solve.
Absolutely. One of the things we always want to do is we also want our audience to learn a little bit more about our guests. And we were doing a little homework on you, and we saw that you seem to be very much so involved in other things besides, just working at Acxiom. And on your LinkedIn specifically, it looks like you're on a lot of, I don't know how to best describe it, operations or organizations that encourage girls in STEM. Your National Girls Collaborative, Girls Start. Give us an idea. What are these operations, and what are they trying to do?
Yeah. Yes, I am very passionate about driving more diversity into STEM and STEM careers. Right. When I started working in IT, looking around me, right, there wasn't a lot of diversity. It continues to grow, but even today, if you look at, maybe there's 25% of in IT, or even like cybersecurity careers, maybe 25% women, depending which, survey results you look at, but still, very, it's much smaller. So my belief is that in order to make a change, right, we have to start at the beginning, right? So we have to invest in our young people, right, and give them the confidence and understanding of what it means to be in a STEM career, right? Because these careers are the future of not just our country, right, but the world, right? These are the careers that are growing. They're going to be in more demand. It's so important to provide opportunities so that girls know this is a space for them. This is a place where they can belong. And so I've been working with several of these organizations, like Girls Start, which does after school as well as summer camp programs for girls, especially helping people in underserved communities, right? That a lot of the program, like the after school program, is totally free for the girls to attend. And then the National Girls Collaborative Project, which I've recently joined the board of, they work across and help all the organizations across the U.S. that are like Girl Start, that are trying to get these programs out to girls. But they work at a national level to provide resources to those organizations so that they can do more on the ground in their particular state. So it's a mission. It's important because girls are still opting out. So, when they're at young elementary ages, they, the interest in math or sciences, and those are kind of the foundational things at that age, is, equal or even more, say, than boys are. But then it changes, in middle school and then in high school, where we start to see, more fallout. So I've been very passionate about working with those young ages so that it's setting us up for the future, as well as, working with women of today, people early career, helping women, be supported, in their current careers, as they've, selected an IT type of role.
Yeah, I'm a girl dad. We were joking about it before the show started recording. I'm a girl dad myself, and so I used to. When people would bring up like, hey, girls are just like not encouraged to go into STEM. Before I was a girl dad, I didn't really understand or recognize that. But then I was able to be recognizing like, wow, all of the like toys and stuff are catered towards like their looks. And I was like, what is this? Like, what do we look like? I don't want her to focus on her looks. I want her to focus. So that's why we liked Doc McStuffins, I believe her name was, like the character, because she's a veterinarian, I believe, and or a toy veterinarian. I was like, yeah, get into this, like get into other things. Currently, my daughter, we were joking before the show started, is my daughter, she's very into nature and animals. And so I encourage that. And, but right now she's definitely more interested in the care of them. Like she likes petting them. You know what I mean? She's my son used to read like, this is how snakes eat. This is how, she doesn't read books about dogs. She just likes petting dogs, so we're working on it.
But it's systemic for many, many years. Right. So everything that we can do, every conversation, right? Keeping it top of mind, right? And ensuring that we're helping to break down some of those biases that have long existed. And like you said, like even things we think they're not there, but then if you really look, right, we can make a difference and change it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the other things we learned about you is that you graduated with a degree in international management and accounting at Georgetown. That's not quite comp sci or something along the lines of IT. So how did you go from accounting? Well, my wife's an accountant, so I know what she does. How'd you go from accounting to IT?
Yeah. So, so even as, when I was in high school, there wasn't a lot of encouragement, so I thought, okay, well, and it was very, business was like, and finance was very big at the time. So, I didn't really think about IT as a career. And then once I started working, I just found myself, I was always the person who wanted to improve the process, wanted to work with people in IT to change, and make our reporting better, take steps out of like, it took us this long to do something. Let's make it be shorter. So from my first job, and then I continued, into my next company and worked at different roles and started to be the one leading, from the business side, sponsoring a lot of our initiatives and from, technology initiatives, right? We need to have a new financial system, or we at when I was at Esprit, we were doing an overhaul of all of our kind of end-to-end systems. So I was leading that from the business side, and just driving like, these are the changes that we need to make. So I found myself always doing that. And at the time I was leading that project at Esprit, the CEO and CFO at the time came to me and said, hey, our IT team is really struggling. Would you like to take on IT? And at that point, I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, I've been doing this work, spending a lot of time on IT, but, and then I thought, well, let me try this. And if I don't like it, I can always go back and do something else. So I tried it. We were successful with that project. Was successful in turning the team around. And I found that I really, enjoyed being in IT and being able to lead the work, that I had been more, sponsoring and working on from the business side. So decided to stay with IT. And then I, made the, commitment to myself to do a lot of learning, right? So I started off there, like really working on enterprise applications, right? That was an enterprise application project, but now I also had infrastructure responsibility. So learning to work in those different areas. And I had the opportunity while I was at Electronic Arts to be able to move across different areas of technology, learn different things like, all the different like IT areas. So it enabled me to really be where I am today.
That your story supports the advice that many of our guests have given to the young professionals listening, which is, hey, say you want to work somewhere where you can say yes to the most amount of projects without like it's like on you, where you're like sole responsibility. So it's like a way to build yourself up. Say yes to projects, say yes to hard things, is the best way to learn. Like you're not going to learn the stuff that you could probably never learn from, I don't know, YouTube videos and textbooks. It's probably pretty tough.
Yeah. And that I give that advice too, is that, look broadly, right? Look across different opportunities and make those connections. Always be looking for those connections, even if you're not, say, moving your role right now, but learning more, the more you can, let people know also, hey, I would be interested in that project, right? Or not just saying yes, but like creating the opportunity for yourself to be able to work on that project.
There you go. Well, Janet, I want to say thank you for joining us today on IT Visionaries. It was awesome hearing what Acxiom is. And it's like I said, if you're listening to this show right now, you are interacting. If you go to any website, you've interacted with Acxiom. I can almost promise you that. It was pretty cool hearing the stories of how you serve the diverse array of customers. And for those of you that listen to Janet's stories, listen, she went from Electronic Arts to Acxiom. She was in the gaming industry, and now she's in the data game. And so if you're interested in building, you can, of course, check out, we'll link the website to the careers page at Acxiom in our show notes. Janet, thank you for joining us today on IT Visionaries.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.